Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.
Now you might think that this is just another cute little catchphrase that a YouTuber says at the end of his video. I mean, that's what I thought. Until I truly understood the science behind willpower. What I'm about to show you should absolutely blow your mind, and if it doesn't, then you probably haven't understood it. You see, for quite a while the word willpower has been used in the self-improvement community, but it never really had a tangible underpinning to it. Like, what is this thing called willpower? Where does it reside? Are some humans just born with it and some don't have it? How is it measured? Can it be increased or decreased? All these questions were previously unanswered. Your success in any domain of life directly depends on the amount of willpower that you can generate. You use willpower either to perform a behavior or to resist a behavior. In order for you to become a successful person, you will have to make use of this willpower on days when you don't feel like doing the task that is required for your success. If you want to be a successful athlete, then you have to train on days when you don't feel like it. If you want to be a software engineer, you will have to study on days when you don't feel like it. If you want to be a bodybuilder, you will have to resist garbage food, even when you really crave it. Willpower is the secret ingredient to success in any and every endeavor of life. There is a region of the brain called the anterior midcingular cortex. The name is not that important, but it is this region of the brain that is responsible for generating willpower. But wait, that is not it. Listen to what the neuroscientist Andrew Huberman has to say about it.
Most people don't know this, but there's a brain structure called the anterior midcingulate cortex. But what's interesting about this brain area is there are now a lot of data in humans showing that when people do something they don't want to do, this brain area gets bigger.
Yep.
And in people that live a very long time, this area keeps its size. In many ways, scientists are starting to think of the anterior midcingulate cortex not just as one of the seats of willpower,
Right.
but perhaps actually the seat of the will to live.
Pause. Think about what was just said. This region of the brain is not only responsible for generating willpower, which is the key ingredient to success, but it is also responsible for generating the will to live.
They were able to march their stimulation around different subregions of the cingulate gyrus of humans while those people were awake, and then ask those people, how do you feel? What are you experiencing in this moment? So what the subjects report when their anterior mid-cingulate cortex was stimulated is that, in their words, something was about to happen. They felt as if there was some sort of pressure upon them from the outside, not physical pressure, but that something was about to happen. In fact, one of the subjects described the sensation as, it's as if there's a storm off in the distance, but I know I need to go into the storm and I know I can make it through the storm. Okay? Another subject described the experience of having their anterior mid-cingulate cortex stimulated as, okay, something not necessarily good is going to happen, but I know that I need to marshal resources and resist, and I'm confident that I can push through. They reported feeling as if their body was getting ready to do something. One subject said something along the lines of, yeah, I feel like I'm about to do something. I'm about to go someplace or do something to resist this foreboding sense that's now coming over me.
If you're someone who's pursuing excellence, you are going to face storms in your life. You're going to go through circumstances that are stressful and demanding. It could be finishing a project at work within a given time period. It could be doing a hard workout on a day you're feeling lazy. It could be sparring someone far more skilled than you. The truth is that life is filled with such stress-inducing storms. If you lack the willpower or this region of your brain is not developed, then the storm is going to melt you and you're going to crumble under the pressure. But if you're someone with strong willpower, meaning that you have a very well-developed anterior mid-cingulate cortex, then you're much more likely to face that storm head on and come out victorious on the other side.
Allostasis is the idea that much of what our brain and body need to do, but especially our brain, is to allocate, right? Allostasis, to allocate resources to particular functions depending on our motivational goals and the challenges upon us. And in every way, what we understand about the structure and function of the anterior mid-cingulate cortex is that it is doing just that. It is deciding how much glucose should a given brain area consume. Perhaps a brain area that's involved in visual perception because you're involved in a motivational task where in order to succeed, you need to pay careful visual attention to particular things. Or you're involved in a task where you have to listen to particular things.
This is why you often see those individuals which have willpower, they are much less likely to quit a given hard task than those who simply don't have the willpower. Let's take the example of long distance running. Assuming both of the runners are equally trained, a runner with more willpower could perhaps outrun the runner with less willpower. It could perhaps be because a well-developed anterior mid-cingulate cortex allocates more resources to the regions of the brain that are activated during running, and this could be the difference between winning or losing. But here's the truly fascinating part about all of this.
When I started seeing the data on the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, I was like, whoa, this is interesting.
Yep.
And all the data point to the fact that we can build this area up.
Yep.
But that as quickly as we build it up, if we don't continue to invest in things that are hard for us, that we don't want to do, that's the part that feels so Goggin-esque to me, that we don't want to do. Mm-hmm. To me, this is one of the most important discoveries that neuroscience has ever made, because it's that I don't want to do something, but do it anyway.
That's right.
That grows this area. And it's almost like I have a friend, he's been sober 30 years from alcohol. And he always says, you know, the amazing thing about addiction is there's a cure. The problem is it only works one day at a time.
Yep.
And so you have to renew it every day.
That's right.
So the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, to me, when I learned about it, two things went off in my head. Whoa, this is super interesting. And two, I got to tell David Goggins about it. If somebody feels they don't have it, feels like this thing that other people have, but everybody, unless they're brain damaged, like a hole through their head, has two anterior mid-cingulate cortex, one on each side of their brain. Everyone has one. They have two. So I feel like it's just a question of opening the portal.
And this is why Hamza was right. Doing the hard thing, especially when you don't feel like doing it, is the stimulus that is required to grow this region of the brain. Doing the hard thing when you don't feel like doing it, in some sense, increases not just your will, but your will to exist.
Now here's what's especially interesting about this brain area to me. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is smaller in obese people. It gets bigger when they diet. It's larger in athletes. It's especially large or grows larger in people that see themselves as challenged and overcome some challenge.
This is what happens to those who never ever do something that they don't want to do or resist something that they really want to do. They literally shrink their anterior mid-cingulate cortex. They literally lose their willpower, and in some sense, they lose their will to live. The truth is, even though right now you're motivated to do the hard things when you don't feel like doing them, you still do not have the discipline to do those hard things. Motivation is a temporary resource that is bound to run out. So make sure that you watch this video and learn the tools and techniques that will allow you to start doing these hard things.